This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV and CBS 5.
Happy New Year, Sun Devil fans. I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
It is indeed a new year. Happy 2024 to everyone. But it is also, Joe, the end of our first season on the air here on Arizona's Family Sports Network.
Man, it went by quickly, but it has been a blast coming to y'all in this different form for this year. We're going to keep going. We're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, we're going to break down some New Year's resolutions. It's a new year, new me. That applies to Sun Devil Athletics. We're going to give our takes here to you right now.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to run down our Sun Devil football resolutions here in our opening segment. A little bit to take a broader look a little bit later on in the show. But, Joe, I think everybody can agree on that, you know, whether it's football related or not, that a new year means a new opportunity for better health.
There you go. The new year, new me mentality usually applies to physical health for a lot of folks making these New Year's resolutions. And I think that certainly applies for Sun Devil football in 2024. We saw a slew of injuries at a lot of different positions in 2023, stuff that is pretty much unprecedented around here. You can't have that happen again. And I know that you can't necessarily completely prevent injuries. If so, everybody would. But ASU in 24 has to have better health to be successful on the field.
It was wildly just kind of unprecedented. I know that both of us have been following this program for a long time and just really have never seen anything to this degree. You know, when you see positions like the offensive line and quarterback hit so acutely, obviously it resulted in a lot of the kind of weird stuff that we tracked all season long. But hopefully ASU will have much better health and injury luck in this new year. And now looking at some other things on the field, some trends to reverse. Joe, let's hope that ASU is able to kind of take what isn't theirs, because their turnover luck on the defensive side was pretty weird as well, kind of like along the lines of the injuries. They were playing some pretty good defense for most of the year, but just were not getting any turnovers. It was so weird.
Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy thing for that first, half of the season or so until that breakout against Washington in Seattle. As everybody's talking about now, ASU came very close to defeating the team that will play for the national championship. And, of course, ASU is the most recent team to have defeated the Washington Huskies. But, all season long, if you take the broad stroke of it, turnovers were an issue. Generating turnovers were an issue. And for ASU, when you have some talent issues, you've got to be able to level the playing field. That's what they really got to do coming up in 24.
All right, and also we'd like to see them generate more big plays on offense. ASU was 107th in the country in yards of 30-plus or more from scrimmage in 2023. So in 2024, they're adding guys like Raleek Brown from USC, along with some other returning playmakers. So hopefully some big plays are in the future this year.
Yeah, a lot of that is going to come down to the health at quarterback. That is a main reason, in my opinion, we didn't see as much as we would have liked to in 2023, because you had 4 or 5 guys out there playing quarterback, a few of which really aren't quarterbacks. You get some health, you get some continuity at QB, and you're going to get that going, I believe, in 2024. You know, as a New Year's resolution, you like to strengthen bonds between friends and family. You don't want to have important people leave your life. For Sun Devil football, that applies in the sense of not allowing any further impact players to depart via the transfer portal. This is only a small period left, and then there'll be that spring opening for the transfer portal as well. ASU has lost some significant players like B.J. Green, Jalen Conyers, Jordan Clark. But relatively speaking, I think right now the list of players that are leaving so far a little bit lower than maybe some would have thought in terms of the quantity of players. So you got to keep the personnel that you have intact. You can't suffer any further impact players leaving this program.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to track during spring practices coming up, probably in the middle of March through April. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Joe, that another transfer portal window that is opening in the back half of April to see which Sun Devils are going to be sticking around. And a big part of that is hopefully ASU is going to be able to do right by these players on the NIL front. ASU has done better in NIL, still a lot of room to improve in that ever so crucial area in college athletics, and especially in football. So if you want to keep those playmakers home, got to show them some love on the money front.
And that is a topic that we'll break down a little bit later on in the show, the NIL scenario for Arizona State. We talked about not allowing key players to depart. You've got to bring in some key players as well. I think that ASU's done very well so far in the transfer portal market, what it's done in these last several weeks, but you got to go for more quality defensive and offensive linemen, especially the interior linemen on defense. And I like to get some more tackles on offense. Those are the guys that you need to go after there. In addition to that, I think that you need to learn from 2023. I think that's an important thing for everybody when you're making a New Year's resolution is look back on the previous year. What things you can continue? What things do you need to improve, maybe avoid? I think ASU just needs to be a little judicious when it comes to the risks, the creativity that we saw last year, some of which was by necessity. But this is something that moving forward, you want to use less of, but not zero. You want to still have that juice, have that energy, but be smart about when you use it.
Yeah, Kenny Dillingham, it was as you mentioned, by necessity, had to be a little outside the box, probably more than he was comfortable, but hopefully with continued better health and some of the increase in talent that they will be able to play some more traditional football, but also keep that kind of cutting-edge offensive mindset that he had that got him the job. And, of course, as we close out things, looking ahead, I think that you want to get back into the postseason. ASU, it was, even with the issues, still pretty close to a postseason berth, Joe. But, of course, if they want to get to that coveted 6 wins, that's going to mean something special has to come back to Tempe.
Yeah, we are in the point. We talked about it all over the course of the entire season. It's like a year zero situation for Kenny Dillingham. So now you turn that page to 2024, and that's really year one, in our opinion. You want to get to a bowl game. ASU has the ability to do that. They weren't terribly far from that had they been eligible this year. And as you mentioned, a big thing that needs to happen is to regain that territorial cup. ASU now has lost back-to-back games to Arizona, which, of course, is on a high level, that they're doing some things that not a lot of people, including us, thought they'd be doing. So if they continue that success, ASU really needs to take the leap to match that or maybe exceed that. Getting that cup back home is going to be a big feather in the cap for Kenny Dillingham next November.
After the break, we're going to get to know a new Sun Devil contributor on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker Zyrus Fiaseu. Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Let's get to know new Sun Devil linebacker Zyrus Fiaseu. You can find the full conversation on our new podcast episode. All right, Zyrus, obviously you go back and you're coming off a monster season. You jump in the portal. What were the things that you were looking for in your next destination, and how did Arizona State check those boxes for you?
Yeah, so when I hopped in the portal, I was just looking for basically for a bigger stage to help out me and my family. I don't come from a lot, so I just wanted to make sure, I have a bigger stage to set myself for the future. Because obviously the end goal is the NFL. And, I was always brought up the school doesn't make you, you make the school, you make the player, the type of player you are. But then with day and age now, I just felt like it was a better choice. I prayed on it, thought about it for a long time since the end of the season, since Coach Hoke announced his retirement. I think the week Colorado State, and I just kept thinking about it, and signs led me to hitting the portal. And right when I hit the portal, Arizona State was right there, literally they were trying to call me actually to offer me, but I was on the plane back home already. But right when I got off the plane, I was waiting at passenger pickup to get picked up by my older brother, and Coach Ward called me and he was like, hey, just getting straight to it, we want to offer you. And then straight from there, they just showed a tremendous amount of love. The love was just unbelievable that they showed. And my mom loved it. My family loved it. And I just felt like it was the best choice for me.
So then, of course, you come out here on an official visit and get to see things kind of in person, up close, meet those folks in the building. What jumped out to you most, and what made the deepest impression on you during that visit?
Yeah, so when we take a visit, they're just all the facilities that they have. Their football facility was just for football, so you didn't have to share with other sports. The nutrition bar was amazing. They have a little cafeteria that I loved. The campus, we were riding around campus, and we're driving around on the golf cart for 15, 20 minutes, and I'm looking around and I'm like, we're still on campus? And they're like, yeah, no, this is one of the biggest campuses there is. And I was like, oh, I did not know that. And so the place was just beautiful. I didn't know what to expect when I came to Tempe. When I went to Tempe, I was like, maybe it's just a bunch of cactus and tumbleweeds and all that. And, I knew it was a desert, just like Las Vegas, where I'm from, but I didn't expect it to look, like it did. And it was just a beautiful place. And I fell in love with it when I went over there.
When you got to be there and kind of around the guys, around the coaching staff, what was kind of your read on kind of the vibe and the culture that Kenny Dillingham is trying to install here in Tempe with the Sun Devil program.
Yeah, no, you can just tell that he wants to build that program up. Even though they didn't have the season that they wanted last season, that happens with everybody with injuries and just stuff that goes on. And the coaching staff was just great. I mean, he likes to keep everything in house. Like a bunch of them are from Arizona. A bunch of them want to be there. So coaches wanted to be there and loving it. Some of them being their dream jobs. I mean, that just tells you right there that the team is just going to go up from there. And so these coaches were just amazing to me. These coaches were great. They seemed truthful, and I can't wait to get started with them.
In your time just getting to know Kenny Dillingham, what's your kind of impression of him as obviously a younger guy, but a younger head coach, but what's your view on him in terms of a leader of a major college football program?
Yeah, no, he's a great coach and he's a great guy. What do you call? I feel like he connects with the players. He was connecting with me the whole time I was there. Since, like you said, he's a younger mind, which is cool to me because I've played around coaches who are just like, just a bit older, old school. But Coach Dillingham, he was great. I mean, like I love talking to him. I mean, he walked around and, he's trying to get to know everybody. And he talked to me. He came to my house actually on, a couple weeks ago. And it was just cool talking to him. He's just a great guy. And I just felt like, with what he's trying to build, I just wanted to be part of it.
When in talking football and getting to know this Sun Devil defense under defensive coordinator Brian Ward, obviously it's a scheme that really seems to be aggressive and bringing the fight to an offense. What jumps out to you about the scheme and also how your skill set fits in with what they ask of the linebackers?
Yeah, so when we were learning about defense, what really was cool to me is a lot of NFL teams running, which is good because like for me, it'll just be kind of an easy transition if, God willingly, I make it to the NFL. And so the schemes they free up the linebackers real easily with a good D line. They eat up gaps. And as long as I can run sideline to sideline and make the plays I'm supposed to make and do my job, I think I'll fit right in with the defense.
For any Sun Devil fans might not have seen you in action for the Aztecs, give our listeners and viewers a self-scouting report. What skills and what should they expect to see from you once you're out on the field in the maroon and gold?
Oh, well, first, you're just going to know I'm going to do my job. That's the most important thing to me is making sure that, I'm not above the team and that they can get everything out of me. I'm going to play hard for the Sun Devils. I'm going to make sure, I know mentally I'm going to be there. Physically, I'm going to be there. And I'm just going to be where the ball's at. And that's just the way I play.
In a recent interview, you kind of described your style as running back without the ball, and of course, you have a history, playing some offense in your prep days. How do you feel that that kind of mentality has maybe helped shape you and led to that success that you're having on the defensive side?
Yeah, so in high school, basically all the way up to my senior year, I played way more running back than I played defense. If I was to go to defense, I'd play like a nickel back or a free safety. So transitioning to linebacker when I got to San Diego State was probably one of the hardest things for me to do because at first I couldn't flip my hips. I wasn't hitting 300-pound dudes all day every day. So it was a little different. And then so I was calling my dad every day and I'm just like, yo, I don't know, man, this linebacker stuff is kind of hard. And he kind of explained to me hey, just start playing running back just without the ball. Find the open holes, see what you're supposed to see on the other side, but, do it defensively. And since then, it kind of just opened up my eyes and it made it a little easier for me.
Welcome back, folks, to Speak of the Devils. Now, this episode surely has a linebacker feel to it. Let's get to know another new Sun Devil linebacker. Jordan Crook spent his first 2 seasons at Arkansas and is now joining the Sun Devils, looking to give a big boost to this Devil defense. All right, here with new ASU linebacker Jordan Crook. Jordan, obviously, you hop in the portal after a couple of years with the Razorbacks. What were the things that you were looking for in your next destination, and how did Arizona State kind of fill those needs for you?
Just looking for a bigger role, and just more in-depth coaching, honestly, and just being around a complete staff that I know that has the best for me, honestly. is what attracted me to ASU, and then the past ties with Coach Samp, that's like family to me. So I know if he telling me these things, I know he wouldn't tell me wrong. So like that meant a lot, and it kind of that's what honestly that's what did it for me.
So obviously, Rashad Samples and, of course, playing for his father in high school, obviously you have that family connection, the relationship building there. Why has Rashad Samples been so effective as a recruiter, and what makes him special, and how is he able to kind of build those relationships with guys like you?
Honestly, like he's somebody you can relate to. Like even since like when I first met him, like my sophomore year, like when I first got to Duncanville, like he a real dude, and like he's somebody you really can relate to. Like he understands us. Like he ain't like honestly like really not too much older than us. So like he can relate, and like he know what we go through and the things. Like he just understands us, and like I said, he really just family to me, and like he done did a lot for me. You know what I'm saying, over the since my sophomore year, like since I know him.
And of course, you're a guy who came up through, top level Texas high school football, and that's just, something that you just can't find anywhere else. How do you feel, going through, going through Duncanville especially has prepared you for college football?
It definitely prepared me going into the SEC. Like when I did, I feel like, just being in the Texas football, like, just playing in that, like it's different. I feel like it prepares you to play against the best. I was practicing against the best at the time. On the other side of the ball, like it just overall, like it prepared me for what, like, for this, honestly.
So, of course, with ASU moving to the Big 12 for next season, obviously it's going to be a lot of exposure, even a couple games next year in Texas. How much of a factor was that, just knowing that with the conference move, you'll be much more prominent, in your home state?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like that's one thing that was big for me. To be able to come back to the South and be able to play against these teams mean a lot. And plus, like for my family and stuff like that, getting to the games and things like so, like it was definitely big for me. And I feel like being in this conference, gonna be good for me to be able to, showcase fully, what I can do.
What is it about, coming up through Texas that makes maybe a Texas player different from a guy, maybe from California, Florida, Georgia, what are the kind of the especially unique traits about a guy who played his ball in Texas?
I feel like just the overall, like the makeup, like just from A to Z, like the whole player, like just from the mindset to the physical asset, like you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that's what's different. And I feel like the moments, like, what I'm saying, that a lot of people don't get to, they get to college, like we seen it in playoffs, like in the state game, like the big crowds, what I'm saying? Like things like that, like that was normal. So I feel like it prepared us when we got here. So like I said, from A to Z, like overall, like just the whole makeup, like like that cat, like he been through some. Honestly, like he you know what I'm saying, he been in these type of moments. You can count on somebody like that. So I feel like that really would make us stand out.
Now, for any Sun Devil fans who might not have seen you in action for the Razorbacks, give our listeners and viewers a self-scouting report. Tell us what kind of skills and what kind of linebacker you are.
Are you just gonna get a fast, smart, heavy IQ, strong linebacker? That's quick, light-footed, fast-footed. My instincts off the charts. And I love football. And I'm coming to make a difference. No doubt.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devil. Now, earlier in the show, we gave our football-focused 2024 New Year's resolutions. Now, we're going to take a little more macro views, kind of the all-encompassing Sun Devil athletics, things that we'd like to see in this upcoming year. And obviously, Joe, one of the big things of last year was Ray Anderson's resignation as ASU athletic director. As we record this, the search is still ongoing. And obviously, they need to find the right guy to usher in this new era of Sun Devil athletics in kind of this ever so quickly changing landscape of college sports.
And for ASU, there were some big moves that happened in 2022, big moves that happened in 2023. But I think we already know right now that this is going to be the biggest move for Sun Devil athletics in 2024 is whoever is hired as the new athletic director. And I think that it is imperative that that new athletic director attend to the urgent needs of this program. We have seen Arizona State, when it comes to its athletic director, take some outside the box picks in this century or so. I don't think that necessarily needs to be the way that they go. I think the focal points need to be things like NIL and fundraising. Obviously, that's the biggest deal in college athletics right now, and that's a big, big deal for Arizona State. I think that there needs to be the kind of personality to rebuild some of those relationships with the general fan base, especially like that average fan base that I think in many cases couldn't necessarily relate to the previous administration. So, of course, a huge, huge move for the present and future of Sun Devil athletics. And I think that, again, it's very, very important that this new athletic director is able to execute at a few high-level important skills.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. Obviously, it's going to be the name of the game is NIL, fundraising and rebuilding and strengthening those ties with the community, with the alumni base, with the boosters and the donors, because we obviously saw that Ray Anderson kind of wore out his welcome, maybe even a couple of years ago, and that once he was gone, the checkbooks and the kind of will to get involved was ramped up significantly. But that needs to continue and build upon itself in the coming year.
Yeah, by no means is ASU in a position where it's at like a cruising altitude when it comes to fundraising, NIL, that sort of thing. As you mentioned, of course, there was activity within a quick span when Ray Anderson stepped down. But the Sun Devil fan base still needs to rise to the occasion. And it's sad in a sense that is the new normal, as it would be in college athletics, to where it's basically a fundraising scenario every single year in many cases, where you have to put together that capital to have the NIL base to feed your major programs. And ASU, as you mentioned, made some improvements, some progress in that area. But that's going to be just an ever important, always going necessity to continue to fundraise. So the Sun Devil fan base needs not to have this wait and see mentality that we see far too often around here, and need to jump into action. A lot of folks have, and that is commendable. But that needs to improve for ASU to continue to work its way back up to like a 500 level and then get over the hump to a more successful program, especially in football.
And a big part of this process is going to be kind of on the flip side, patience to get ASU athletics to where all these fans have wanted to be all these years. You got to be patient. It's going to take some time. ASU has dug itself kind of in a pretty big hole in a lot of key areas. Progress is made, as Joe said, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, especially when it comes to football. This is not an immediate gratification situation. You need to have that involvement we talked about with that last bullet point, but not necessarily expect that has to pay immediate dividends on some high degree within this next season. You got to have patience to know that it takes a few classes to really build things up. But if you take steps forward year after year, then you probably are going to get to that destination.
All right, so that's going to probably put a pin on season 1 of Speak of the Devils here on Arizona's Family Sports Network. But Joe, thankfully, we were picked up for season 2. We're going to be coming back weekly starting this summer, but that doesn't mean you have to wait till then. We're going to be back each and every month with a special talking all things Sun Devil athletics.
Yeah, we're going to bring some great content to you over these next few months till we get to that summertime and roll things out week after week at that point as well. So don't go anywhere. You know that we're going to give you our best. We're, of course, going to have our podcast version on a very regular basis, so y'all aren't getting rid of us anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely subscribe on all podcast platforms, and Joe and I will be back in a couple of weeks as we talk about all things Sun Devil wrestling, baseball, and more.